Thanks, Kane. Yeah, fuck you.
Happy birthday, Tariq. You always have a home here with us. Come on.
In this continuation to the what if story for Tariq and Brayden, in this what if, during Power Season 6, Effie is a Tejada on Lorenzo's side of the family and is actually the cousins to Drew, Kane, and Diana. Lorenzo took her into the family when her parents were hooked on drugs and her brother, who was killed in a robbery that gone wrong. And raised into the family, she is Kane's favorite family member because she is the craziest but is always the smartest. Her introduction to Tariq will be the same as it was in Season 6, Episode 2. Tariq convinces her to work with him so she can have time to study and get good books. She does eventually agree, and that's when she at some point decides to invite Tariq to the Tejada family home. There, Tariq is introduced to the whole family. Kane has just been let back into the family due to him finding a new connect in Mecca. Dinner ends in a similar fashion to Book 2, with Uncle Frank coming home from prison. Monet immediately spots that something is wrong and tells Kane to send Tariq back to choke. Monet tells Drew to send Uncle Frank out, and Diana cleans the plates. Effie stays the night. Kane is on his way taking Tariq back to school and tries to scare and intimidate him like he did in Season 1 of Book 2. Tariq puts Kane in check and calls out the fact that Uncle Frank is a snitch. Kane goes back home to tell Monet that Tariq held up and didn't flinch when he held the gun at him. It makes him have a little respect for him after him not flinching. He tells Monet that Tariq spotted that Uncle Frank is a snitch, similar to how it was in Book 2. It leads to Monet wanting information on Tariq. She tells her that he's just a classmate who recently lost his sister and his father was previously on the trial for murder. Monet tells Effie to find more information on Tariq. Similar to Book 2, the next day, Kane and Drew handle the Uncle Frank problem. Effie finally agrees to help Tariq and Brayden to sell the pills. In Season 6, Episode 4, Tariq's storyline is mostly the same when it comes to him working for Vince and needing product. But instead, Course Correct would start early, as this is Brayden's idea to create the app and is funded by one of Brayden's uncles instead of Stern funding it for Tariq like in Book 2. This would set up Tariq's relationship with the whole Tejada family. Kane meeting Brayden will be similar to how it was in Book 2, except the difference is he kidnaps both Tariq and Brayden when they come up short on the money, and he forces them on the corner of Queens every single day and night until his money is right. Tariq and Brayden eventually do pay Kane back his money, and everything is cool at this point. This would be in Season 6, Episode 3 to 4. For Season 6, Episode 1 to 2, Kane Tejada's storyline prior to meeting Tariq and Brayden would be about him trying to get back with his family and convincing them that they have a new connect. Meanwhile, the beef with the Tejada family and Rico increases. Rico gets tired of Monet taking too long on paying him his money, so he attempts to take her out of the game completely by assassinating Monet and the rest of her family. Mecca has connections in the underworld and dirty cops on his payroll who are aware of the Tejada's beef with the Rico's organization. Mecca gives Kane the heads up on Rico's location and agrees to help Kane take out Rico's whole crew to help him get back in the Tejada family. And it also gives Mecca the opportunity to do business with him. This is all a ploy to reunite with Monet. Mecca's storyline in Season 6, Episode 1 to 5 is him continuing to school Kane on how to run his drug enterprises, teaching him how to be more smarter and strategic, using the chessboard and his pieces to manipulate their soldiers as pawns to get them on their side. Mecca is also at war with another drug kingpin named Mahoney, who's moved in on his territory. He wants Kane to kill him and take everything from Mahoney so he can move the competition out of the way, so he can take control over his distro of another drug empire higher than him. Dante Spears' storyline throughout the entire show, a former soldier in the military who, in the eyes of the public, is a legit businessman and a philanthropist. 19 years ago, Dante Spears was in love with Monet. For unknown reasons, they drifted apart. Dante joined the army and Monet was pregnant. Dante's goal is to reunite with Monet and their son so they could be a family. For Season 6, Episode 1 and 2, Monet's storyline is her desperately trying to find a way to pay Rico his money while also fearing he's going to come after her family. Lorenzo's in prison, tells her she needs to get King back into the fold or it's going to be full war, which can't happen. Meanwhile, an old acquaintance from Monet's past shows up, back after 19 years to rekindle their old flame. For Episodes 2 to 3 and 4 to 6, Tariq's storyline is mostly the same as the original story. He's running out of pills because in season 6, episode 3, he was stealing Tommy's drugs and passing them off to Vincent as Kanan's pills. Tommy finds out and takes back the drugs. The storyline Power should expand on Tariq's time and Cho a little longer before he eventually get expelled and kicked out. It would have been dope to have seen more of an explanation on Tariq's side as opposed to Tariq and Effie having more scenes like in the original story. Like, how did Tariq and Brayden become friends? Like, in this rewrite, Tariq would open up to Brayden about why he wants to be in the game. His family's in shambles, his sister is dead, and his best friend died, and his father cheated on his mother and left the family for her. While there was an ongoing investigation by the feds looking into Tariq and his family, Brayden understands and can relate to Tariq's situation in a similar way. His family comes from an organized crime as well. His father and mother was killed. Their entire family is struggling due to losing funds. His sister Rebecca is using drugs to cope with the loss of both their parents. The only one who seems not to be upset is Brayden's older brother Tracy, who is currently at Stansfield College wasting most of the money from Mr. Weston's will, getting high on coke and hosting parties at his frat house. Brayden feels like he has to be the one to save his family from destroying itself and losing everything. We also learned that Brayden's life before his father's death wasn't the best either. Most of the Weston's family would constantly see him as a somewhat of a fuck-up. Tracy would be seen as the golden child of the family. Mr. Weston wasn't always home as much, with having to deal with the family hedge fund and also paying off the mob. Brayden, similar to Book 2, is like an outcast of the family, similar to Kanan, and also Tariq in terms of wanting to become his own man. It's also why he likes selling product with Tariq. After understanding both of their situations, Brayden and Tariq will become best friends and even closer after learning about, their history with each other. For Power Season 6, Episode 5 to 6, remember when Tariq get exposed and ratted out by Effie for selling pills. But in this what-if story, we'll dive a little bit deeper into Effie's motivation and backstory. So about 9 years ago, prior to the events of Power Season 6, Effie and her older brother are orphans out in the cold streets of Southside Jamaica, Queens, after their parents died from drug abuse. No money, no food, and no place to stay on their own, they resort to going to Lorenzo Tejada for refuge. Lorenzo raised Effie and her older brother alongside his kids and treated them like they were his own. Effie was the favorite amongst the family and got along well with Kane, Drew, and Diane and Effie, however, didn't seem to be able to get along too well. It almost stems from jealousy of Lorenzo and Monet allow Effie to go to school and not Diana to go to school, but this is mainly a Monet thing that she doesn't want her to go to school. 10 years later, in present day, Lorenzo is currently in prison for a 25-year sentence. Effie is currently hustling at Choate to earn enough money, not to just help pay for her college education and her future, but is also to help her uncle Lorenzo Tejada to get out of prison, and that's her motivation for hustling with Brayden and Tariq. So, now, this was a lot. And I understand, in the story, in the original story of Power, I think Lorenzo Tejada was in prison, for a little bit of a longer time. So I do like this from Support Gaming. This is really nice. And I know you've been going through a lot because you've been writing a lot. But I think this was pretty good. And I hope everybody liked this because I'm pretty sure do like this because it's a very interesting take on if it should have always been Kane instead of Zeke because Zeke was weird. So, yeah. I think this would kind of conclude the parts of everything that kind of was all over the place in the original Power. And Power Book 2 Go Season 3 is this Friday. And a lot of crazy shit is going to happen. But again, I do like this What If. And shouts out to Supporting Gaming for even sending me this and even writing so much. My boy, you've been writing a lot. I appreciate you. So, yeah. Comment, subscribe, and share. And I will catch you all in the next one.